special NBA Finals edition of Inside Thunder Basketball with Darnell Mayberry. I'm sports editor Mike Sherman of the Oklahoman, here with our Thunder beat writer Darnell Mayberry, and we're talking about the NBA Finals, Game 6, Lakers Celtics, Tuesday night in Los Angeles. Darnell, matchups are everything in the NBA. Let's talk about the matchups. Who has won the matchup so far and who will win it in the end? Let's start with the most important one, I think, Paul Pierce versus Ron Artest.
Well, Paul Pierce is clearly winning that. Ever since Game 4 and Doc Rivers switched him and put him in that pick and roll, that high pick and roll where he's going with his bigs and being a facilitator and being more aggressive, he's really been able to have his way with Ron Artest. And Ron Artest does not have an answer for him, and Paul Pierce is now controlling this series.
Okay, the next one, a very interesting one the series started, Rajon Rondo versus Derek Fisher.
I think Rajon Rondo is winning that matchup as well now, and I think that has a lot more to do with Andrew Bynum's health. I think the fact that Andrew Bynum is not in the low post, changing and altering shots of Rajon Rondo, that's helped break down the Lakers' defense. And when he gets by Derek Fisher, or if it's Kobe Bryant, the Lakers no longer have that second unit to stop Rajon Rondo from doing his thing at the rim.
The bigs inside kind of match up differently depending on the situation, but let's start with this one. Kendrick Perkins versus Andrew Bynum.
Well, I think that had been a wash. I think Andrew Bynum had even gotten the upper hand in the first 2 or 3 games, and then he went down with that knee injury. So he hasn't been the same since. I think Kendrick Perkins has been decent. He's had some shots at the rim that he's blocked, especially on Pau Gasol. But when Andrew Bynum was healthy, that's no longer a factor. He was winning the series, but now I think it's all Kendrick Perkins.
I'm afraid this is landslide for the Lakers, Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen.
Do I have to say anything? Kobe Bryant scores 38 points in Game 5. The problem is he scores 38 and they still lose. Ray Allen is doing his thing in the team concept, and that's helping the Celtics. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it's Ray Allen. But Kobe Bryant is still the best player in this series. It's just not enough for the Lakers.
One that you definitely would have given to the Lakers when the series starts, but the longer it goes on, the more interesting it gets. Kevin Garnett versus Pau Gasol.
Well, something happened in Game 4, I think, and KG really came alive. That was his best game in the series. Pau Gasol, ever since then, has had no answer for Kevin Garnett, and that's really been one of the biggest differences in this series. Kevin Garnett is doing it on both ends of the court as well. You saw Pau Gasol with only the 12 points. Some of that had to do with Kobe Bryant taking so many shots and scoring 38 in Game 5, but I think Kevin Garnett has really upped his game and his level of play, and Pau Gasol sort of looks like the Pau Gasol of 2008 now.
Uh-oh, 2 more. The Celtics bench versus the Lakers bench.
Well, if you throw out Game 4, I hate to use the phrase throw out like one of our former coworkers, but the Celtics bench, specifically Nate Robinson, Rasheed Wallace, and Glenn Davis, came up huge in Game 4. They were sort of disappeared in Game 5. You thought that they were going to be able to duplicate that same success in Game 5, and that wasn't the case. It didn't really have to happen because the Big Four stepped up so much. But I think the benches are really playing to a tie right now. The Celtics had that one big game. Ever since then, it hadn't been, you hadn't heard much from them. So I think that's going to shift in the Lakers' favor now that this series is going back to L.A.
Maybe so. I do remember Tony Allen's block on Pau Gasol. I think
huge play.
Okay, last one. Phil Jackson versus Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers, I read somewhere the other day, what if they voted on Coach of the Year today? Sorry, Scott Brooks, but Doc Rivers, if it was a postseason award or if it at least included the postseason, Doc Rivers would win in a landslide. The way he's gotten the most out of that Celtics team, they say one of the hardest things to do in the NBA is coach talent. He's got a lot of talent on that Celtics team, and he's gotten the most out of them. He's got their full attention. He's making the right adjustments. He's getting them to play harder. So, if you include all of those things, I think Doc Rivers is, again, out-coaching Phil Jackson.
Finally, your Game 6 prediction.
Well, I think the Lakers are going home. I think they're going to get more out of their role players, Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol. It starts with them. I think they're going to have big games. And I think we're going to see players like Lamar Odom and Derek Fisher have big games as well. So the fact that they're just going to get some home cooking at home inside Staples Center, I think that's going to work well for them.
Thanks, Darnell. That's all for this special edition of Inside Thunder Basketball with Darnell Mayberry, but you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere every day it is okay, and every morning in the Oklahoman.